Today marks 370 days of the Kashmiris living in an open prison since the Indian government stripped the occupied valley of its autonomous status. More in this report by our correspondent Naeem Khalid.
On August 5, 2019, the Indian government revoked Article 35A and 370 in occupied Kashmir. The article had allowed the state a certain amount of autonomy, its own constitution, and a separate flag. It could also bar Indians from outside the state from purchasing property or settling there. India not only snatched all these rights 2 years ago, but also imposed a ruthless curfew and a communications blackout. Thousands of Kashmiris have been languishing in Indian jails since then. Kashmiri activist Mushal Malik said India is trying to change the demography of the disputed Himalayan region.
We became refugees and all our economic, socio-political rights were transferred to the Indians. So basically, India's agenda is to transform this occupational force into not just an Indian colony, but into a mini India. And to do that, they are at very fast pace, changing the demography. They have, in the past 2 years, they have given almost 40 lakh Indians domicile certificates, which is shocking because in the next year or so, this area would become a majority Indian area, an Indian region. And then if they conduct the plebiscite, then naturally Kashmiris will be marginalized, minimized, and they will be a minority. And our entire struggle of right to self-determination will go in vain.
Speaking to Indus News, Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry said Pakistan will never accept Indian illegal actions in Kashmir.
The fourth assumption that India made, and again where it went wrong, was that somehow Pakistan will accept India's actions. Pakistan has refused to. And since 5th August 2019, we have launched a diplomatic offensive. We've approached international media. We have approached the global parliament. We have approached the United Nations. We've approached the United Nations human rights machinery. We've engaged the civil society. And in Pakistan also, we see that the government of Pakistan, all state institutions, all political parties, civil societies, and Pakistanis as a whole, they are all on one page. They are all united on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, and we believe that only resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute lies in full implementation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions.
India's continuing crimes against the Kashmiri people are a solemn reminder to the international community of its collective responsibility to hold India accountable. Manahil Ahmed, Indus News, Islamabad.
For more on this, we are joined by Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi, a defense analyst speaking to us from Islamabad. Mr. Lodhi, thank you so much for speaking to Indus News. Now, India's extrajudicial killings of Kashmiri civilians has worsened after the August 5th annexation of the valley. What could be the consequences if this continues and the world keeps its current passive attitude towards this nuclear flashpoint between India and Pakistan?
Thank you very much. I think the consequences are already quite clear because they have lost the hearts and minds of all Kashmiris. You know, in the past, there used to be a group of Kashmiris, those who would support the Indian government or even the Bharatiya Janata Party. But now it's no more. So this is one big consequence of their actions, which are brutal. So we need to understand two lessons of history very clearly. One, that you cannot forcibly annex people of any area against their will. One. And secondly, if you lose their hearts and minds, that they are not with you, then one day or the other, they will get their freedom. So these two things are obvious. The only thing is a matter of time. Yes, today is a day where we should review what all Modi government has been doing in the last 2 years and how effective have been our responses. So I think what they've been doing is that very slowly but surely, according to a certain strategy, they are annexing the remaining areas. Also, carrying out certain political gimmicks. For example, making certain areas as a part of the union and other a normal state, abrogating 370, 335A, etc. And they are assimilating the portion of illegally occupied Kashmir, which is with them. We have been quite successful as far as the diplomatic front is concerned, but I think politically, even lawfare point of view and militarily, we have not been very successful as far as the responses are concerned. So we need to review our entire response and make sure that we give a befitting response to all Indian actions so that they come to their senses. And instead of waiting for the international community, which of course we should keep trying, but it is our problem and we have to resolve it ourselves, and we may not rely on the international community forever. Yeah.
Mr. Lodhi, now New Delhi has been amassing more and more troops in and around Kashmir over the past 2 years. What would this deployment, be successful in coercing the Kashmiris into subjugation?
Naturally, you see, if you have one person with a gun and uniform for every 7 to 8 civilians, so that is the concentration of force more than anywhere in the world. I mean, nowhere in the world you will find such a strong force suppressing the will of the people of any area. So they are actually, the fallout is going to be negative. I mean, it will be counterproductive. Instead of the people getting suppressed for all times to come, they will spring up whenever they get an opportunity. Yes, today you are suppressing them. Today you're injuring them. Today you are martyring them. But this cannot go forever. And even a Kashmiri child born today carries that hatred and bitterness because of their actions. The only thing is Kashmiris, they want help. They want assistance. And of course, the international community must come to their help. But we must remember as Pakistanis, it is our basic duty to provide them all sort of help which is required for them to get their freedom and to give them their inalienable right of deciding whether they want to join Pakistan or India. India knows the consequences of any such plebiscite, and that is why they are not, agreeing to that. But United Nations Security Council, along with our friends, China, maybe other countries, we must try to resolve this issue so that these atrocities on our brothers and sisters, those can be terminated.
Mr. Lodhi, now the regional countries have recently shown that they can play a bigger role in helping solve the crisis in Afghanistan. Why has this approach and attitude been missing when it comes to Kashmir?
There's a very, very clear reason as far as that is concerned. In Afghanistan, both sides were aggressive and they were belligerent. And in this case, I think India is much more aggressive than Pakistan. And Pakistan is our policy is a bit of defensive in nature. Unless we also acquire the aggressive nature, you will see yourself that the entire world will come, and they would then see that these two nuclear powers, there's a potential of clash between them. So that is the reason. And secondly, there on one side it was America, on the other side it was China and Russia and Pakistan and the neighboring countries. So there was a sort of balance. In case of Kashmir, we have not been able to create that counterbalance to India. So we have to work more in the diplomatic field, but also in the military field, also in the political field.
Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi, thank you so much for speaking to Indus News.